Today, Elon Musk is the wealthiest man in the history of the world. He is the CEO of Tesla, the founder of SpaceX, the owner of X, and the man trying to merge human brains with computers through Neuralink. To the public, he is the real-life Iron Man, a billionaire genius who seems to conquer every industry he touches. But would you believe me if I told you that this Iron Man was once bullied so severely at school that he was thrown down a flight of stairs and beaten until he blacked out? Would you believe me if I told you that at 24 years old, he was so poor that he couldn't afford an apartment and had to shower at a local YMCA while sleeping on a futon bed in a rented office, or that he was fired from his own company while he was away on his honeymoon? The story of Elon Musk isn't a straight line to the top. It is a chaotic, painful, and often bizarre journey of a man who was spat on by Russian rocket designers, laughed at by the auto industry, and stood just 48 hours away from total bankruptcy and personal ruin. How did a boy from a violent household in South Africa become the most rich man in the world? To find the answer, we have to go back to Pretoria, 1971. Elon Musk was born on June 28, 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa. On the surface, his life seemed comfortable. His mother, May, was a successful model, and his father, Errol, was an electromechanical engineer. But behind closed doors, Elon's childhood was a disaster. Elon has described his father as a terrible human being who subjected him to psychological abuse. His mother, May, recalled being told at least 3 times a day that she was boring, stupid, and ugly. In this environment, Elon retreated into books. By age 9, he had read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. School offered no refuge. Elon was a socially awkward, know-it-all kid. In one horrific incident in the 8th grade, a group of bullies ambushed him, kicked him in the head, and threw him down a concrete staircase. He was beaten so badly that he had to be hospitalized, and later required a surgery to fix a respiratory issue caused by the damage to his nose. His only escape was a Commodore VIC-20 computer. At age 12, without a teacher, he taught himself to code and created a space team game called Blastar. He sold the code to a magazine for $500. It was the first hint of the brilliance that would one day change the world. But at 17, his only goal was to get out. He left South Africa for Canada to avoid mandatory military service. He wanted to reach the United States, the land where he believed great things were possible. After working odd jobs in Canada and attending Queen's University, partly because he heard there were more girls there than at other engineering schools, Elon transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. He graduated with dual degrees in physics and economics. In 1995, he moved to Silicon Valley to start a PhD at Stanford, but he dropped out after just 2 days. The internet was exploding, and Elon didn't want to watch from the sidelines. He and his brother Kimball started Zip2, a company that provided city guides for newspapers. The struggle was real. Elon had $100,000 in student debt and had no money for a home. He rented a tiny office, slept on a futon bed, and showered at the YMCA. He programmed through the night, only stopping to sleep when his body gave out. When Zip2 finally found success, it was massive. Compaq bought the company in 1999 for $307 million. Elon, at age 27, walked away with $22 million. Most people would have retired. Elon booked as a reward for himself a $1 million McLaren F1 supercar, but he didn't stop there. He took almost other $10 million and poured them into his next idea, X.com, an online bank. X.com eventually merged with its rival, Confinity, to become PayPal. Elon was the largest shareholder and the CEO, but his leadership style was abrasive. He wanted to move PayPal servers from Unix to Windows, sparking a civil war within the company. In 2000, Elon finally decided to take a break. He married his first wife, Justine, and left for his honeymoon. While he was on the plane, the PayPal board of directors staged a coup. They fired him as a CEO and replaced him with Peter Thiel. Elon came back to find that he had been kicked out of his own company. It was humiliating, but once again, his persistence paid off. When eBay bought PayPal for $1.5 billion in 2002, Elon's share was $175 million. He was 31 years old and had enough money to live like a king for 10 lifetimes. Instead, he decided to take more risks. Elon had always been obsessed with the idea of making life multiplanetary. He traveled to Russia to try and buy refurbished intercontinental ballistic missiles to send mice to Mars. The Russian designers didn't take him seriously. In one meeting, a chief designer allegedly spat on Elon, viewing him as an amateur with too much money. On the flight home, Elon realized that if he couldn't buy a rocket, he would build one. He calculated the first principles of rocket building and realized that the raw materials only cost 3% of a rocket typical price. SpaceX was born in 2002 in a warehouse that, as Elon says,
SpaceX basically consisted of carpet and a mariachi band. That's all of SpaceX.
Around the same time, invested $6.5 million into a tiny startup called Tesla Motors. He wasn't the founder, but he became the chairman and eventually the architect of their first car, the Roadster. He was now running a rocket company and a car company simultaneously. Critics called him delusional, and by 2008 it looked like they were right. 2008 was the darkest year of Elon Musk's life. SpaceX had attempted 3 launches of the Falcon 1 rocket. All 3 exploded before reaching orbit, and he had enough money left for only one more launch. If the 4th launch failed, SpaceX was dead. Simultaneously, Tesla was bleeding cash, the Roadster was way over budget, and the global financial crisis had frozen all investment. Elon was also going through a painful divorce from Justin. He was living on personal loans from friends just to pay his rent. He reached a breaking point where he had to choose. He could split his remaining $40 million between SpaceX and Tesla and risk both dying, or put it all into one and let the other perish. He decided to split the money. On September 28, 2008, the 4th Falcon 1 launch took place. The team watched in agonizing silence, but this time the rocket reached orbit. It was the first privately funded liquid-fueled rocket to ever do so. NASA was so impressed they awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. On Christmas Eve of the same year, Elon managed to secure a final round of funding for Tesla at the very last hour, but companies were saved from the brink of death. The following decade was a whirlwind of production hell. To get the Tesla Model 3 into mass production, Elon slept on the factory floor in Fremont, California. He became a polarizing figure. He smoked cannabis on the Joe Rogan podcast, causing Tesla stock to temporarily plummet. He was sued by the SEC for a tweet about taking Tesla private. He founded, as he calls, the Boring Company to dig tunnels, Neuralink to connect the brains to AI, and the Solar City to revolutionize energy. By 2021, the man who once showered at the YMCA and was spat on by Russian became the richest person on the planet. His net worth soared past 200 billion as Tesla became the most valuable car company in the world, and SpaceX became the leader in global spaceflight, successfully landing and reusing orbital rockets. a feat once thought impossible. Musk's current political controversies are a massive story on their own, but we will save that for the next time. He has sold his mansions and lives in a modest $50,000 house near the SpaceX launch site in Texas. So, what are the lessons from the story of Elon Musk? First, resilience is a superpower. Most people would have quit after their first rocket explosion or the first threat of bankruptcy. But Musk views failure just as data where to improve. Second, first principle thinking. He doesn't accept that things must be expensive or must be done a certain way. He breaks every problem down to its basic physics and rebuilds from there. Third, high stakes, high reward. Elon once said, when something is important enough, you do it even if odds are not in your favor. He risked every penny he had twice to pursue missions he believed were vital for humanity. Whether you love him or hate him, Elon Musk has proven that a single man could significantly change the course of humanity. If you enjoyed this video about Elon Musk, don't forget to like and subscribe for more success stories.